Hey everyone, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here today to finally understand how AI search works and how HubSpot increased AI traffic and demand by 40% with AEO, GEO, or whatever you want to call it. And to get the answer for both questions, we have Christina Clark here with us, who is the person behind these amazing results that HubSpot could achieve. Hey Christina, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'll say myself and team at HubSpot for sure.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. Before we really get started, how about a light icebreaker?
Ye-
Something for the folks who have been, I don't know, laughing to keep from crying with all of the changes to marketing. So here's the question. What is the funniest AI search result you have seen recently? Drop your answers in the chat so
Yeah.
folks can see and laugh along.
I also want to see the results. Like, I want to see what are the funniest or maybe even the most weird, the most scariest
Yeah, yeah.
result that I have seen.
Yeah, they're out there. I've
Yeah.
seen something like when you ask how long should a blog post be, the answer is between 300 and 25,000 words, like a tweet or a novel. Really helpful. Very funny,
Or,
really.
or when you're asking how to improve for AEO to get cited in AI search, it says write a good content.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I
Thank
am.
you. I got it's very actionable. Good content.
Do you remember 2 years ago when they launched Google's AI overview? The answers it would give us. I remember some like viral prompts that everybody tried. Like one of them was, "How do I make the cheese on pizza sticky?" And it would suggest to mix a glue with the cheese.
Oof. Yeah, I think it's called machine learning for a reason. They had a lot to learn at the start.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy to see how it evolved. Well,
yeah, no,
really.
absolutely. Yeah. I think let's see.
Maxim is saying the whole "should I walk or take my car to the car wash?" That's
Jeez.
pretty funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is funny. I read this week that CloudFront blocked all AI call. Oh yeah, since June. This one was really crazy. The one that Luke is saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a heart-stopping moment every change, every week really in
Exactly.
AI and AEO for sure.
Exactly. So, okay, before getting started, I actually want to see if we have any HubSpot users with
Ooh,
us.
I would love to see this too.
Yeah. It's kind of no pressure, but this is kind of basically your performance review, Christina, happening live
Yes,
right now
yeah. How are we doing?
in front of everyone. But
Yeah.
yeah, whatever your answer is,
Good.
guys, what Christina is going to share, it works whether you are using HubSpot or not, because the AEO framework is the thing. The tools just make it easier. So, but as we can see, we have a lot of HubSpot users here.
We do, this is exciting. Okay, now that we've got sort of a start to the lay of the land, shall we get started?
Yes, let me just remove the poll. Yeah, because we have a packed session and we also want to answer all your questions. So drop your questions in the chat as Christina presents, and I'll bring them on stage for Christina to answer. If you guys are ready, we can start.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So again, this is a session on how HubSpot increased AI traffic and demand 40% with AEO. And we'll also do a preamble on just how AI search works in 2016 or 2026. 2016 was a very different time.
2016. Oh my God, that was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, lots has changed. For those who don't know, I'm Christina Clark at HubSpot. I lead a team of SEOs, AEO strategists, and growth marketers driving double-digit growth in organic traffic, qualified leads, and freemium signups. When I'm not analyzing algorithms or fine-tuning HubSpot's growth strategy, I'm working my other very important job as mom to Luca and Violet. So now that you know a bit more about me, here is what we will cover today. You can think of this as like a crash course in AEO. We'll start with the AI search landscape to give you a lay of the land and like a foundational understanding of why SEO is no longer enough. Then we'll move on to HubSpot's AEO framework that was developed from in-depth research and experimentation. We'll talk about the results we saw once we established and then scaled that framework. And then we'll wrap with how you can get started today for your company and your brand.
We already got a question, Christina,
Okay, yeah.
and it's a sad question. What is AEO?
What is AEO? I'm glad you asked this. We will get right into it. I can define just the acronym for you. Answer engine optimization. Great question. I'll define a bit more as we go along, but that's just what that acronym stands for. There's a number of them. Like we mentioned earlier, there's GEO, there's AI SEO. AEO is what we're going to anchor on today.
Yeah. Before we get started, you want
Yep.
to run a quick poll to see where the companies are today in their AEO strategy.
Yes, I absolutely would love to get a sense of where folks are. If you're just
Yeah.
learning, like asking questions about where AEO is, if you have started experimenting, all answers are good answers. It just helps me get a sense of maybe how far to drill down and what to explain more or less. While folks are getting into that poll, I will just say we are going on a ride today. Our destination, my goal is to get you ready to drive AI discoverability, accuracy, and performance for your company. So let's see where everyone is now. We've got a lot with experimenting. This is good. This is really where you should start. So I'm just learning, I'd say hand in hand, learning and experimenting until you find what works.
Yeah. While results are rolling in, Christina, when did you start first paying attention to AEO at HubSpot?
Yeah, years ago, I think we mentioned maybe 2 years ago is when AI overviews started appearing in mass in places specifically like in the US. And we paid attention because we saw them, and then we also saw impact to our click-through rate and our traffic. And we saw them scale from, tofu transactional keywords, some tofu keywords to transactional keywords. And so the more AIOs increased, the closer we paid attention. I'd say we got really into experimentation in the last year and a half.
Oh, okay. Okay, I think we got the answer for our poll. This is exactly why we are here today, because everyone is experimenting with the AEO. Now I'm going to stop the poll and we can continue with the slides.
Yep. I mentioned this. We're working to drive discoverability, accuracy, and performance. Let's get into the lay of the land to start to answer some of those questions for the folks who are still learning or maybe just starting to experiment. What's happening in search? What is the difference between a search engine? What is an answer engine? So this is sort of a look, a mock-up of the good old days of SEO when we used to have the 10 blue links and a handful of SERP features that you could just target, lock on, and land almost certainly with a strong strategy. Where we are now is a little different. For folks who are still defaulting to like Google search, there's now an answer engine within, sometimes, oftentimes dropped right on top of search results. So then that means even if you're in position one, even if you have a really popular or like hard to get SERP feature, organic search is just not sending as much traffic anymore because the answer engines or AI is answering it instead. Also now, there are, if you're not in Google search where there's AI overviews, there is ChatGPT, there is Gemini, the more chat interface. There's a lot happening there. Your buyers, your potential customers are there having a dialogue that could leave your brand, your website, your products completely out of consideration. And so part of the reason we're here today is because our job as marketers is now to be cited, not just ranked. And that is what we call AEO, answer engine optimization, optimizing for these answer engines, this conversation your buyers, your potential customers are having. So some more questions based on what I see in LinkedIn and chat around the industry. Is AEO just fancy rebranded SEO? And I find that this sometimes is the obstacle preventing people from winning in AEO or AI search. And I'd like to just get a sense of folks with another poll if you're willing and able.
Of course, we do have another poll. So let's start it and see the results. What's the
Yeah.
biggest obstacle preventing you from winning in AI search?
Mhm. Is it understanding how they work? Is it gaps in measuring? Is it what do I do with my content? Is it can't get buy-in to even start experimenting? Seeing things kind of spread across.
Yeah. Christina, which of these do you see most often when you are talking to other marketers?
I think it's understanding how they work. It's honestly a lot of folks are just like, I'm doing SEO. AI overview shows up in the SERPs. I've got it covered. It scrapes from search results and they think that solves it, is what I've seen be the biggest obstacle. Is just expanding the thinking, being curious, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, good to see how folks are doing here. And it's the understanding, which is actually a great answer for your time today, because I'm going to help you build your understanding of the answer engines. So we can still see some results coming in. That's awesome. Okay, so is SEO just fancy rebranded SEO? Another question I see come up is, why does ranking number one not guarantee being mentioned or cited in AI answers? And to be honest, I can confirm there is a difference. It's not just fancy rebranded SEO. There's a difference in how these engines sort of like read the road when consuming and capturing and then ranking your content. So let's dig into that. Gonna frame this up from the principles we understand in SEO. It doesn't mean that this is the exact terminology for answer engines. It's just something for folks to connect from SEO to AEO. So when you're thinking of indexing in traditional SEO, the search engines consume page level content. You're getting things, the header, the top to bottom, the metadata, all of that is indexed, sort of captured. Whereas answer engines are consuming and storing content at the passage level. So, and they're storing that information as a vector that's mapped to other similar content. So it's not just your page and your positioning top to bottom. It is this section of your product page and maybe your competitors' content on another product page at another site being stored as relative. And this is why people talk about relevance engineering as related content. When you get into ranking then, so search engines, if you've been doing SEO, you know that a lot of it is based on the keyword relevance. Maybe it's backlink volume, maybe it's authority. When it comes to answer engines, they are anchoring not on one keyword or even the strategy of the entire page. They are mapping those vectors they have now for related content based on a user query, maybe a keyword, but really storing it as a vector so that they have a map of what's the clearest narrative, what's going to give me the clearest data-backed response when someone comes to me with a prompt. And that's going to influence whether you're relevant or not to how much you rank, how much you show up, so to speak. And then when it comes to not just how it's captured and how it's stored and prioritized, but what then is shown to the user, what we have often seen in SEO is the metadata, the title, the description, headers you have on the page. When answer engines, and this is why folks go, I'm number one here, it's very clear, I'm winning, I'm showing up with, really carefully crafted content strategy. What's happening with answer engines? The difference is the source. They are not capturing, again, the full page. They have snippets of information, vectors. And so what they're sharing out in the responses is a synthesis of that vectorized content. They may reference your content in the answers. They may not send traffic to your website, which makes comprehensive content and on strategically chosen topics really, really critical. It is why we need to be optimizing for answer engines, doing something different than traditional SEO, because this is our job as marketers, is to capture the interest of the folks searching, which means now searching and using answer engines and so on and so forth. For the folks who are, skeptical or hesitant to let go of traditional SEO, this is the new reality. Is, again, you can be number one. You can be number one and have captured all of the SERP features, winning at SEO. But as buyer behavior changes and now all these new tools come out, 60%, as many as 60% of Google searches result in 0 clicks because they're moving to different spaces. They're not.
Yeah. And this is not a future problem. This is a right now problem.
It's a right now.
This is that, yeah.
It's a present reality. Absolutely. The good news is that once someone gets through the large portion of their buyer's journey within an answer engine, within AI mode, what have you, those visitors come ready to convert as qualified leads. Visitors from answer engines convert at nearly 4 times the rate in half the time and can generate as much as 13 times the MRR. So it's good news. It's bad news, good news. There's still growth opportunities.
Keeping the balance.
Yeah, keeping the balance, absolutely. So again, before answer engines came on the scene, we were doing pure SEO. You post relevant content, you get traffic. SEO is rewarding your reputation, and the volume was the goal here. Now with AEO, we need to strap in. We need to lean in, buckle up, because AEO is going to reward different things. As we just looked at how they process content differently, they're going to reward your reputation, your authority, your content appearing across multiple trusted sources. Because with AEO, conversion is the game versus volume with SEO.
Yeah, Christina, do you still do some traditional SEO stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would not say that AEO is a replacement or rip and replace of SEO. It's additive. It's still very important for you to have a really strong search strategy, for you to be appearing, because folks are still using it. Clicks are down 60%, but don't let go of that 40% that's still there. And frankly, a lot of the fundamentals for AEO are overlapped with SEO. There is more to learn, there's more to do, but it's certainly, you don't want to let go of those best practices and just run wild, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that is essentially our lay of the land. We know now what's happening, and we've got some good reasons for why we should strap in. Let's dig into HubSpot's AEO framework.
Let's go.
Let's go. So, again, to the question we just asked, keeping in mind the similarities and the differences between these engines, understand that AEO is additive. To win in AEO, you really need to build authority and consistent messaging across the entire web, not just on your own domain. But don't worry, we're on the topic of your own domain and in the interest of getting started quickly today. So we will look at like the different content models across SEO, CRO even, and AEO to get a sense of how to move from where you are today and get started quickly. So looking at the SEO content model, again, things we know and do, optimizing your meta title and description, having a, strong relevant image, the value prop, you want to discuss the problem solution. There's FAQ content, RIP that to the FAQ snippets. And then, incorporating target keywords throughout. For folks who are not just driving traffic for the sake of traffic, if you're also looking to have strong CVR and, qualified conversions, it's not too different of a model. You're going to have that hero section. You're going to have image, value prop, which maybe focus a little bit less on the problem solution and more feature benefit. But there is the CTA, there is social proof to help reduce the friction and get folks to convert, a number of things. You don't need to, though, like I've said, throw away SEO or CRO principles, but you should adapt. So let's take a look at the AEO content model. Again, this is like a straw man example, but I want folks to know that adapting SEO for AI, for answer engines, is really much simpler than expected. You can really get started with just a few high impact steps, and you can build momentum from if you have a really strong SEO strategy. If you if you're ranking high, if you're on page one, maybe you're position one, you can do that you can lean into AEO without overhauling your SEO strategy all at once. And so this approach sort of serves as a starter kit for succeeding in AI search. So we've got the hero section still, you've got the value prop. What I will tell folks is it's not just feature benefit, problem, solution. There's a conversation your buyers are having with these answer engines. They're asking questions. We know now that the answer engines are storing the relevant answers. And so you want to, at the very top of the page, answer a key question. You want to have social proof as much as you can. You want to have really well-structured supporting copy, suitable schema for your page and that content type, really clean and clear HTML. And then honestly, what we have seen be one of the most important things is having your product or services, those references throughout the content. I'm going to pause there because I'm sure there are at least some folks maybe rolling their eyes. I have seen people say, AEO, again, is just fancy rebranded SEO. I'm going to go a click deeper into what the differentiator is for AEO for some of these things, starting with like the value prop.
We do have a question from the previous slide regarding the FAQs.
Yeah.
From Michaela. She was asking, aren't FAQs still good for AEO?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially to that point of question answer, and they should be on this slide. Yeah, we've got them here in the AEO content model. They're still good. They maybe aren't going to get you, the snippet, but they are really suitable, well suited for the way that answer engines kind of construct their responses. So absolutely stick with it. I'll tell you a bit more about them in a second. Starting from the top to bottom, the value prop, you want to answer the key question your customers are asking about this product or this service that you're covering on this piece of content. I know the elements look familiar. It's not just the feature benefit. It is like the conversational answer to the buyer's question. I'm sure a lot of folks being, really talented marketers have thought through what's the buyer's journey? What are people asking around this topic, around this product, in the consideration stage, in the, solution evaluation stage. Answer that at the top of the page as much as you can, really close to that CTA, in the hero, one of the first things. Another really important thing is social proof. Again, we're familiar with social proof. The differentiator for AEO, the CRO tells us we need social proof. AEO is looking for answer engines are looking for a really clear answer. So what has this product or service done for this ICP that you're targeting? Include that. Try to use original data because that makes you more likely to be cited, your content, your own site to be cited because you've got this original data that ties it together. Another one that may be like a duh, we're already doing this, but I'll just tell you again why it's important. The well-structured copy. I have been surprised at how impactful this is, but breaking up long blocks of text with bullet points, with tables, like asterisks on tables, and clear headers really increases your chances for the AI, what we call AI mentions, or like the text references to your brand, to your company, and then those citations where it's a link. So use those bullet points, use numbered lists as much as you can to really clearly structure the copy for AI comprehension. Another one, so here we go, the question on FAQs. Familiar concept. You take a keyword, you wrap it, rephrase it into a question. That's SEO as like incorporating the target keyword. The shift, very subtle. Again, these are really quick, like starter kit for AEO, is try to, again, address that buyer's journey when possible, answer those key questions. The tip that we have found really useful to like scale from SEO to AEO is to, do this based on certainly the keywords, but if you have customer feedback, questions that come up in sales calls, if you're, looking at the people also ask results on the pages where you're ranking high, you can leverage that to develop some of these questions. Another one, product references throughout. Again, it seems very simple. It's something we maybe even already doing of like, of course, this is my product page. Of course, I'm talking about this product, but are you doing it throughout? Because you have to remember that the answer engines, again, are not capturing the full page of content. They are capturing things at the passage level. So, 3/4 down the page, when you're getting into the feature and benefits of what exactly? Do as much as you can when you're talking about the features and benefits, when you're talking about social proof, to answer completely, what is this that we're talking about? Clearly define the product, the service, who it's for, how it works, why it's different, as much as possible, because that increases your chances for, if this snippet is what an answer engine has captured, we show up and we've got a very clear answer with our brand, with our product, with our positioning for our ICP there.
We do have a question for product references.
Sure.
I'm wondering how I can increase the product references on our web and blog pages as a SaaS B2B services company.
I would say, I might need to see the specific piece of content that you have. And my LinkedIn is open if you ever want to do a quick consult potentially. And I'll probably just point you right to the platform. But there's a few things. We started with this. We had product pages before AEO that had the more SEO, CRO content model. And we were like, well, we're referencing the product. But if you really just, you could take a screenshot, look at each section where there maybe is a CTA, where there is a separate module, and say, what are we saying here? If someone were to come to this section in isolation, have we said what the product is? And list the goals for blogs, sometimes it's comparing, competitors, but as much as you can when you're referencing yours, it's your brand name, it's what the product title is, it's the impact it's had for your customer. So making sure it's still valuable for the reader. You're not just trying to game the system. But I probably would need to see the page itself to give a better answer.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay, and now, so that is what we established at HubSpot as the AEO framework. Again, after extensive research and just how these engines work, and then experimentation for what is working with our customers on our site. I'll tell you, I'm really excited to tell you about what we found and the impact that we had. This is sort of the roll-up view across multiple content types, subdomains, but all in all, we saw a 40% increase in AI citations and a 40% increase in the AI referral traffic, so coming from those answer engines, and the CVR was 4x what we had seen from other experiments, from other optimizations and plays. It was it's presently surprising once we again got through experimentation, nailed things down, and then scaled. For example, so some folks go, this is HubSpot, of course they're doing great.
Yeah.
We've done, not just building on the momentum of what we had, really, high authority pages, things that were ranking well. We've launched net new content with this framework, following that content model, like top to bottom approach. And we earned 159 AI citations with over 1,000 page views from the AI referral traffic across 4 different engines. And this was just 4 weeks after launching this page, which I thought was incredible because typically with SEO, sometimes it's a watch and wait game. And so I was really excited to see how quickly we were able to realize results from this proven framework.
And
well, yeah, great question too. Yeah. So I'll say for this example of like one of the net new pages we launched with the framework, that was 4 weeks. The results can vary, but it's much faster than AEO. I have yet to see anything take but a few weeks to see results. And sometimes if you're experimenting, sometimes you see a little dip and you pivot and you adapt. But within a few weeks, you can typically see results.
I also have a question, Christina. When you are auditing existing content to apply this model that you just showed us, what's the most common mistake you see?
Abandoning best practices, jumping away from, SEO best practices of like, am I addressing one clear content strategy top to bottom, or am I trying to stuff keywords from everywhere, or saying, going too far for answer engines and saying the whole page should be a table, when we know from CRO, there's a certain structure that is just more suitable to improve conversion. So abandoning the other things I've seen has been a big mistake of just folks going all in on AEO a little too far. Yeah. And then on that point of existing content, frankly, I was a bit nervous when we started on some of our pages that, again, were ranking really well, that had some like really healthy CVR, but we couldn't ignore the headwinds we were seeing from AI and the fact that, in some cases, click-through rate was going down. And so we started out with just updates to like metadata, improving the social proof with clearer stats, original data, and then those FAQ elements. Again, this is on existing content. And we saw a 200% growth in AI citations. And I want to share this here as another example of HubSpot. We have had to learn and grow and experiment. There was a lot of room for growth in this area because they were doing well, SEO, CRO, but not so well in answer engine space. And that really can just be true for everyone. It's not a gimme from SEO right over to AEO. And from those small changes of just metadata, the social proof, and FAQ, we saw these results in 2 weeks. It was incredible. And then we scaled. We said, this is working. Go. Okay, so I've talked a lot about HubSpot, the framework we developed, and what the results we've got. I think we're ready to talk about how folks here can get started.
Yes. And the tools that they can use.
The tools that they can use. Yeah, you're going to need some tools. Absolutely. And I'll say before you put your foot on the gas and say, okay, I'm applying the content model, go. I do recommend that folks start with like running a diagnostic to go along with the driving model. Find out what your growth areas are and then you can assess your brand, where it stands, and your own content and where it stands. So really step one is to do sort of an audit, to use the AEO grader. We've got a lovely link here. If folks want to click over and try it. It takes seconds, minutes, with this 4 form fields to get started and get an initial grade of like, where are my gaps? And as folks may be doing that in the background, I'll talk through what's in HubSpot's AEO grader. Again, this is a free tool. I think it's pretty incredible we're giving folks this access free. You'll start with something like brand recognition. You'll see that in the report. This will help you discover the themes associated with your brand, because maybe buyers know that you sell coffee, but do they know you also have the best donuts? And so you'll get a sense of like how recognizable you are in your industry for the product or service that you sort of fill in the form. You'll also get a sense of brand sentiment. So it'll help you measure the perception around your brand across multiple engines. So maybe, again, buyers will know you have coffee, you have donuts. Do they think they're any good? And that's what you're getting with the brand sentiment metric. Another one that I think is really important and helpful for folks to build out and shift their strategy is the share of voice. So folks know you have coffee and donuts. They think they're great. They know you, they like you, right? But are they hearing more about you, or are they hearing more about your competitors, the coffee shop across the street, down the road? And that's what you'll get with the share of voice metric. This is just sort of like a sneak peek of what a report like this looks like. This is folks who have done really well in AEO, but maybe need to work on that share of voice. There's, we're doing great on brand recognition. Folks like what we have to offer, but they also are seeing a lot of content from our competitors. And then I'll say you'll get the scores. This is kind of a sneak peek here. And then beyond that, we will offer suggestions on how to improve specifically these benchmark scores for your brand, for your content, in your industry. Again, for free. I think it's incredible.
We're going to show that in a bit.
We are absolutely going to do a demo. Yeah, I'm excited for that too. Okay, so once you've got your score, let's say you have a low share of voice score, your competitors are showing up more, I'd recommend in that case, then you start with your comparison content of your brand versus another brand in a blog, in a long form, content model, and then apply that AEO framework we just shared. You can also leverage some recommendations you might get from the AEO grader. But if you're looking at comparison content, if you're trying to solve for share of voice, then the question you want to answer is, how is Dunkin' Donuts better than this local coffee shop, at the very top of the page, and then also throughout the FAQs. So that's just kind of an example of moving from audit to applying the model based on the specific metric where you maybe need some growth, rather than just scale everywhere, answer all the same questions on every page. You can really fine tune it to where your gaps are in answer engine presence, visibility, performance, and so on. I think it may be time for another poll, because I have some tips on tracking AI traffic, but I'm very curious how folks are tracking traffic conversions across the different platforms, whether it's ChatGPT, Perplexity, AI overviews. Are you tracking it? Are you just manually spot checking for things? Do you have a dedicated tool?
Let's see.
Yeah. Using Google Analytics. This is what I'm seeing tracking those. Also, people not tracking it. This is good. Get started. We'll talk about that in a second.
These are people who just started experimenting with it.
Yeah. Using a dedicated AEO monitoring. This is awesome. That's a almost even split. Very cool. Okay, this is good to know. Using Google Analytics, I'm also very curious how folks are using that. I'll say there is good news for HubSpot customers, and I think there's a number of you here, which is exciting. You could move from Google Analytics. There is, within the platform, we've built in referral traffic into our platform. So you'll see organic search, you'll see paid, and then you'll see referral traffic. And most of the time, based on the way, tracking works and the way the citations are, a lot of the times you'll see the answer engine traffic coming through as referrals. And so once you have gotten your grade, your AEO grade or your AEO score, and you've applied the content model, then you can start to move through and track those lifts, those dips, and see, okay, is this working for us or do we need to tweak some things? And the QR code on the screen just points you right to an article that shows you how to get to this specific report in the platform if you're a HubSpot customer. Okay, so then I'd say for getting started quickly in the tools, the last thing is you've got your score, you've applied the framework, you are assessing performance for your customers, your brand, your content. And once you have found for the KPIs you're trying to move, whether it's sentiment or accuracy or recognition, you've applied it, you found the right content model to apply it, you're seeing traffic lift in that area, then I'd say it's time you now scale and build. So I'll say with that, we've pretty much completed our AEO crash course. I want to sort of wrap with just reiterating that good AEO is not about chasing AI or industry fads. It really is about building systems that are good and that serve humans and machines or engines well and do it well. I'll thank everyone for their time, and we have, I think, a good amount of time for questions if there's more.
And maybe we should start with a live audit.
Oh, yes.
One of the websites that
Yeah.
our audience just dropped in the chat. I see like we have a lot of people dropping their websites here.
Yeah.
What do you think? Maybe we can just pick one. Let's say this one from Tyne Photo Room.
Okay. I'll need, so is it, I'm sharing screen, yes? We're seeing it? Put it through the AEO Greeter now. Photo Room, hopefully I'm spelling this right. Location.
Okay. Tyne, if you can drop the location. Where do you want to see it? Like US, global, or any specific location you wanna us to pick?
US if it applies. Let me see if I can get the chat as well. Okay.
And in the meantime, you guys can drop your questions because after the live audit, we're gonna do US. We're gonna do the Q&A session. So we're gonna answer all of your questions.
Yeah. Let's do product photography. Sometimes more general is best, but let's see what we get. And then technology.
Technology. Yeah, she just dropped.
Let's see what we get.
Let's see.
Back at the bottom. You're being brave. Look at the chat. It's got to go across multiple engines. It's got to assess the brand in all those different spaces. For recognition.
Very interesting, actually. Before we get the results, we can ask Tyne, maybe, are you doing anything for AEO, like for optimizing it, or you are just getting started, you are experimenting maybe? Yeah, I did do some stuff, so I hope it worked. Okay, let's see.
Okay. I'm gonna see, I feel like sometimes when you share screen, I don't know if anybody else has this, when you're on like a Zoom call, you share screen and then it takes longer. Oh, here we go. Right when I put the pressure on. And we do have a question, and maybe we'll get to it right after.
Yeah, we will get them.
We're seeing
70%, 70 for OpenAI, Gemini.
Okay.
You will have to explain us how to read the results, Christina.
Yeah, happy to. It's part of the reason we have the demo. But it's nice to see so far you've got this score is great, this score is great. Sometimes we'll see, oh, you need some work. I'll actually even show that. Sometimes you'll see, you're on the right track, sweetie. Just keep up the good work. So I'll say that maybe we can say that some of the things you're doing is starting to work or are starting to work. We can actually see here brand sentiment and share of voice, very strong. You're in the green. Congratulations. So folks are maybe hearing about you versus your competitors. You're showing up a bit more. The sentiment around your product photography is great. what we're seeing, at least for OpenAI and Gemini, is there is some room for growth and some opportunities to pull some levers around recognition. So maybe you show up and like, what is a good, what's a good company for product photography? But when folks are maybe early on in the solution consideration and your brand needs to be in the answer, maybe it's not showing up as much there. And so maybe your FAQs are where you start to answer and build in some of those questions and answers, tying your brand into what solutions people are looking for and how you solve for them. And maybe that can help boost it. But I'll also say if you run through this, you'll unlock some really clear insights for yourself. Anything I should catch up on in the chat? The questions you
Now
want to answer
we
around
do
this?
have a lot of questions.
Okay.
We
I'm
do
happy
have
to
a lot
take
of
them.
questions. Okay, let's start from the beginning. Question from team, very specific, but we were having a debate internally in if our pages should include the LLM.text or robot file. Any insight here?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one. We actually had a lot of internal debate around this too. And what we've landed on for pretty much every AEO tactic or strategy is we test and prove the theory. For us, LLMs.text, at least the first round, we weren't seeing that pick up any traffic. We weren't seeing that improve any of our KPIs. We know robots, the TXT file is a foundational, SEO practice. Don't abandon that. But we haven't seen from our experimentation, it moved the needle. There's a lot of debate on this in the industry, but I'd say if you have the time, you have the resources, if there's interest, test it. See what works for you because things change every week, right?
Exactly, specifically with AI.
Mhm.
Next question, again from team. Another specific question. We have seen embedding videos in articles helps a lot with AEO, but we were wondering if we should include the video transcript for LLMs to read, or is it unnecessary?
I mean, there's AEO and then again there's humans, and I find that people sometimes prefer transcripts. So it's all for people too. Transcripts are always really helpful. I myself like to sometimes cheat and go, okay, let me read through this and see if I actually want to watch the full thing. So there's that. For AEO, it sometimes depends on the engine. Some engines really lean heavily into video content, and then others are leaning into more text. I'd say to cover your bases, do it. Yes. Is it unnecessary or necessary though? I don't know that it's like make or break.
Okay. Do you add the transcript yourself or no?
I'm not right over top of the video. We're still experimenting, to be honest, with video. We are learning a lot. We know what engines are citing them more and pulling them in more and referencing them more. Whether or not it's transcripts across the board remains to be seen.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, next question. What about the summary to be placed at the top? I
Mm-hmm.
think this was when you were presenting the model.
Yes. So this is again, I'll recommend this in the hero, whether it's the title, whether it's the value prop that people usually put just before the CTA. This is the summary I mean. So sometimes folks will say, coffee for folks who, like a sweet treat, or donuts who like a sweet treat with their coffee. And they leave it there of just like feature benefit, but maybe you add in your brand so that it sort of ties it all together. And folks, if that snippet is captured, it's all together. It's essentially though answering those key questions in the summary at the top, whether it's the value prop, whether it's the title, what have you.
Okay. Next, any tips on length of FAQ section?
Ooh, this is an interesting one. I don't know that it's one that we have explored with our other partners, with who are focused more on conversions and things like that. We try to keep them brief. I think we have never done more than like 10 FAQs on a page. So you're definitely not working to answer every question through the buyer's journey. But again, focusing on the key questions. And if you're using the strategy of building from, your SEO framework of what is a high MSV keyword, whatever you're, trying to rank well for or are ranking well for, prioritize that in your short list of questions to have. But in terms of the length, when you've answered the question, I think brevity is best because these answer engines have to move fast and they're going to scan content quickly. If you've got 3 paragraphs of an FAQ answer, I'm not sure that all 3 paragraphs are going to be captured and then shared. So maybe for the sake of your time and efficiency, keep it brief.
Thanks. Next question is from Yash. I'm a developer, so could you tell how to measure those stats, which tool or how we should get those metrics?
Yeah, so this may be about like the AR referral traffic, answer engine. So HubSpot customers, you've got this coming through. But there are things in the back end. There's a lot, I don't know, it's really technical. There's a lot of things we do to track like what is the user agent for ChatGPT, for Gemini, and use that with like parameters and tracking of that nature to sort of go, okay, this is what's coming from, and for us to isolate within HubSpot what's coming from ChatGPT versus Gemini for traffic and signups. But it's really technical, but that's the best I can answer in the time we have now.
Do you also use, let's say, the SEO tools, Ahrefs, SEMrush, something like this?
Yeah, everything is, you know, built on the foundation of SEO, and some of these tools have, expanded to include like, okay, what is your AI referral traffic, or what is the appearance of AIOs on these, keywords. So yeah, we absolutely kind of use a tool set, so to speak.
Okay. In your experiments, what did you discover that didn't work for AEO?
Yeah, I shared one of them earlier, the LLMs.text. And I was really bullish on it. I was really like, this is important. I believe the article's coming out. When we tested it, okay, let's, set one up. And, it didn't move the needle for us. We have experimented on different content types before we got to this content model of, okay, we want to, reference the product throughout and have original research. Some things, and it just also depends on your KPIs. If you're going for, I want to be visible, you can just have a page that's just a table, right? But if you want to be driving visibility for the sake of qualified conversions, you've got to consider the person. And so we would go all in just for the sake of experimentation on the structure for answer engines and see very little on the other end when it came for traffic, for conversions, and things of that nature. And so that for me is a didn't work, because our goal is to continue to drive interest for
Yeah.
HubSpot products. Yeah.
Next question is, how can you measure the number of AI citations you have earned over a period of time?
Yeah, so there's a number of tools. Something's cooking. But you can see, I think I've used Ahrefs before, that will show you, there's a chart of like, if you go to your keywords and you'll see, the various SERP features, they've got broken down in their AI overviews as a SERP feature, and you can see where they're appearing. We've leveraged Xfunnel for the citations in particular. We recently acquired them, so more to come for HubSpot customers. But tools like Xfunnel have really helped us running prompts for us at high volume, so we can get a sense from a number of different angles with those questions through the buyer's journey for where we're showing up. As I mentioned, just the text or the citations.
Okay. We had the same question from Royce. We'll just skip it.
Okay.
Next, from Yash again. Can you show how actually the AEO landing page looks like, or share the link in the chat maybe?
This is a link to, I don't know if we want the
I think
slide.
the model you presented, I think he wants to see the actual page.
Actual page. Yes. There's a number of pages we've applied this to. I'd have to take a look at. I'd be curious to see which one is most relevant for you. Whether it's product page, whether it's blog post. I'd say for sure we ran some really interesting AEO experiments that had success on our blog when we were seeing that the accuracy for pricing, for HubSpot's pricing, was not working well. And we ran a series of blog posts with that sort of model of like, let's answer this question. Let's really tie it in with original data, which is, our price. And so I'm happy to share some of those. I don't know if I have it handy at the moment, but maybe it's a follow-up after the webinar.
From Michaela. If there was one thing you would recommend we must do to start ranking better at AEO, what is it?
One thing. Whew. It's so hard. I feel like what we have seen has been the combination of a number of these things. Get rid of the jargon. Get rid of the jargon. Be as clear as possible. Less fluff. Remove the fluff of it's a great product. Of what did it do? Did it drive 40% growth? Did it save someone 2 hours? Be as clear and specific as possible because that will increase your chances. Get rid of the fluff. Start by being really clear. Tell the story that you want answer engines to then be sharing on your behalf. Do you want them to say fluffy things? Is that going to, give you the edge against your competitor who has a share of this voice? No. Be clear is where I'd say start.
Do you connect these results to conversions? Do you see an increase there as well?
It depends on the metric. A lot of times with AEO, it is about brand recognition, entity recognition, wanting to be seen and connected in these places. So sometimes we are moving and looking at visibility. We want to just be seen because even when you are cited, the behaviors folks have and the interactions they have with answer engines, sometimes I've got my answer in that conversation and they move on. They're not ready to convert. So sometimes we are, let's just be visible. Let's be part of the answer. But when we have the goal of conversions, we focus on, the high CVR content types and trying to get the visibility and the citations for those pages because we know they'll convert well. But when we're sometimes optimizing a blog post, the goal, it's tofu content. The goal is visibility.
Next, what to do with blog content that we have produced during the last 5 years?
Yeah, this one has been a tough one and maybe an internal debate at HubSpot as well. People are like, blogs are dead and this and that. I think what we know is blogs as the demand driver, they're more impacted. The tofu content is more impacted by AEO reviews and some of those headwinds. It's not going to drive as much traffic and then therefore not going to drive as much conversions. But that content model, the length you're able to do, the amount of clarity and context you can put in a blog post is really well suited. It picks up really quickly in answer engines if your goal is visibility. So optimize them. If they were converting really well, if they were ranking really well, apply the AEO content model, see what you can do to improve brand recognition, or maybe it's an accuracy play. They get pulled in, maybe they aren't clicked on as much, maybe there's not as many citations, but it'll be like the sort of the tide that lifts all boats. So don't leave it in the past. It still has a use, just a different one in this season.
For the existing transactional content that HubSpot saw after 2 weeks, you mentioned you guys just worked on 3 things.
Mhm.
Metadata 2 and 3. I didn't quite catch the other 2 things.
Yeah. And this, I'll say again, is for us, is I feel like maybe we already had covered a number of the successful aspects for the AEO content model. But what we did for this example was updating the metadata to, again, really answer these key questions. We firmed up our stats, less fluff, more original data from our customers' experiences, from our case studies, and then we updated the FAQs. So it was metadata, the stats or social proof, and then the FAQs.
Next, from Robert, how did HubSpot measure its citations? Assume not using their own AEO grader?
Yes, I mentioned this before. This is XFunnel, and we had such a great experience of being able to see the data really clearly. We said, we're going to need this for ourselves and for customers, and we've acquired XFunnel. So stay tuned for more to come, but that's what we've used at HubSpot. I've been really thinking about how to arm you all with getting started, but for now, AEO Grader is a great place to start.
Michaela is asking, hi, MSV keyword. Can you expand a little on that?
Great question, because I have leaned really heavily into the SEO terminology. So MSV is the monthly search volume. So these are keywords that more, if it has a high MSV, it means there's the largest number, a really high number of people every month searching for that in search. So a lot of people searching for best free CRM is one of the highest MSV keywords we have in our content strategy, things we're targeting. Whereas sometimes the longer queries of best free CRM for a construction company may not have as high search volume because there's just less folks to search for it. With AEO, though, it doesn't mean that it's irrelevant because now there's really personalized chats happening, still something to consider. But that's what the high MSV keyword means.
Okay, I think we answered all the questions.
Yeah,
Let me
I do
just
too.
double check. Okay, yeah, we don't have any other questions.
Yeah. This has been a really nice sort of dialogue via the chat and via the polls. I'm excited for the folks who are going to maybe move from now learning some foundational things to hopefully experimenting, getting their AEO score. Um, I'm
Share
really looking
their
forward to hearing
results.
those results.
Yeah, and also sharing what worked for them.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Christina, do you have anything to add before we wrap up?
No, just thank you for everyone's time and attention and participation. This was good. I feel like I learned something too.
Thanks a lot. That's such a good note to end on. Uh, Christina, seriously, thank you. This was exactly the kind of session where I feel like I need to go back and look at everything we are publishing with completely different eyes. The AEO grader, the content model, all of that. It was like incredibly practical. And for everyone who joined today, thank you for showing up, for dropping your questions, and for answering the polls. Now go run your AEO audit, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.